Hi, I'm Grisha Stewart from Ahimsa Dog Training in Seattle, and I wanted to teach watch, what that looks like, and why you would use it. So watch is basically the idea of looking at you and keeping that eye contact focused on you. It could be a soft eye contact, or it could be very interested sort of eye contact, but it's not just the name, which means focus on me in the sense of bring your attention to me, so turn around or flick an ear. And the next thing is for you, that's the name. But watch means actually keep your eyes focused on me. A benefit of that would be something like, let's say you have a dog who's afraid of children and there's a child going by that's going to be probably too close to the dog, that if they did see it, they would explode, for example. Then if the dog has a watch behavior, they're looking at you, that gives them something to anchor their attention to, so they're less likely to react. You can also use something like touch for that timing, but watch can be really cool for keeping the dogs focused. So with watch, I like to get the behavior before I add the cue. You start with a treat, you hold that to the dog's nose, you pull it off to the side of you, so you're not bringing it up to your eyes, but off to the side, so the dog's focus is on the treat, off to the side. At some point, they turn around and their gaze goes to your eyes instead, as if to sort of say, okay, stupid human, why are you not giving me the treat? And at that moment, that's the clickable moment. So you click that, give the dog the treat, and they soon start to realize that if they take their eyes off of that treat and turn to look at you, they get rewarded for that. And I also really like this because it's not just the watch behavior, but it's the impulse control that it requires that is helpful for the dog. So they're learning to have a delayed reinforcement of take their eyes off of something that you want, and mom will give it to you or dad will give it to you. So basically you start with that, so that you're getting lots of eye contact, and if it happens, at some point you get to the point where you hold up the treat and the dog immediately just looks at you. That's when you can start to use the watch cue. So you insert that in, you say watch, then you hold out your hand. That is basically a cue already now to look at you. They turn and look at you, click and give a treat. And then you can basically start to do it without the food in your hand. When the dog is looking at something else, you say watch, and click when they get that eye contact to you. And then after a while, you can start to get more and more duration, either with the cue, so using the cue at that point, or take the cue off, go back to just training, and shape for longer and longer periods of the dog looking at you. So you require 1 second of looking at you before you would click. And if the dog looks away, that's fine. You just wait for the next time that they look at you, click for that. And so you're basically clicking if it's 1 second or more, and then 2 seconds or more, 3 seconds or more, and getting more and more duration as time goes on. Occasionally throw in some easy ones, so the dog isn't always thinking that this game is getting more and more challenging. But basically you're looking for more and more duration. And then you would, just like any other behavior, want to take that out and do it in different places. As with other behaviors, we've got this, like a stay, we have distance, distraction, duration. So distance, you may or may not want the dog to be looking at you from far away. That distance, though, can also be used in terms of the sense of distance to something else that's more distracting to the dog. Also, distance would be how close is the treat to the dog when they have to look away, which blurs the line because that's sort of also about distraction. So distraction, you would want to start at a place, an environment where the dog is comfortable and it's working, and then gradually add more and more distractions and still training that cue. And again, not scaring the dog. And duration, we've talked about in terms of stretching that out really far. And I think that there are dogs who are trained to give really, really nice, solid eye contact, unfortunately with aversives. So if the dog looks at them, it's the only safe place. So the dog has to look at that person. If they look away, they would get shocked with a collar. And so the person becomes the only safe thing that they can look at, and the dog is terrified to look away. Versus if we're using clicker training, the dog is basically adoring you and thinks that if I look at this human long enough, something really good is going to happen to me. You become the treat to the dog. So I think that's a really cool way of teaching. Another reason, or a good reason for teaching the watch, is also to make eye contact something that's pleasant for the dog. There is a difference between this eye contact and this eye contact, so staring versus just a soft glance. And the more eye contact they make with people and having that be not aversive, I think starts to get them to understand our culture, that we stare way too much. and teaches them that it's not necessarily a predictor of something aversive to them if we're making eye contact, and it teaches them to be able to keep that with us. One other thing when you're doing this is to not set your dog up to fail. So one way that you can make your dog fail is if you're leaning in. For dogs, that's a threatening gesture. It's taking away some of their social space. They're then more likely to look away from you. So if you're leaning over the dog, that's going to be trouble. So if you crouch down or sit in a chair, that can be helpful. There's one other way of ruining it, which is to be too naggy to the dog, just like with other cues. If you say, watch, 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 just say it once and then simply wait. So if you have your cue, so you say watch, you put your hand out and you expect the dog will look at you right away, and they don't, that's totally fine. You just wait. As long as they're not getting reinforced by the environment, you can just simply wait them out, and eventually they will turn to look at you, and that's your opportunity to click. I think watch is a really powerful tool in the sense that we can keep our dogs focused on us. I also think that it's really important not to overuse this as a tool. I'd like to have dogs who are able to be in their environment, sniff around, be a dog, and then when asked to gaze at us adoringly, will do so. But I think it's important that we're allowing the dogs to be dogs and sniff and smell and look and all of the different things that they need to do in their environment. And so don't get so focused on the idea that your dog needs to watch you that they miss the opportunity to be a dog.